I don't know if you had the chance to catch up on the other isolation conversations that I've had with other people, but the idea behind this small side project is to, of course, bring the overview of from artists like yourself onto what the industry is, but also to kind of like doing that in the framework of what is happening under Corona, COVID, and
exactly.
everything else.
Yeah, sure.
I think that I think that we have a moral obligation to not pretend that everything is okay and it's good, like you know.
No, it is a bit of a struggle for sure.
How have you been coping with this?
Pretty good actually. I mean, like over here, I would say
You're based in Thailand.
we haven't. Yeah, we're based in Bangkok. So, like, I started the business like 2 years ago now, and we sort of had a bit of a roller coaster ride getting set up, and things are going to be pretty good. We got back on track at the beginning of this year, and then obviously COVID sort of hit, and it was like, oh shit, okay, how's this going to affect things? But I was very surprised about how well and sort of, I guess, how resilient the Thai people are with this kind of thing. Like other Southeast Asian countries, they haven't, they seem not to have coped so well, especially like, China, Hong Kong, Malaysia, Singapore, all got affected very badly. Whereas Thailand sort of kind of, yes, we've got a number of cases, but it doesn't seem to really have affected the sort of day-to-day businesses, apart from sort of the more the entertainment and the tourism side of things. But for developers and for real estate industry, it seems to still be powering ahead, which is sort of very interesting. We haven't actually noticed a slowdown from our clients at all. If anything, it's the opposite effect. We've actually had clients coming back to us and wanting more stuff and getting ready. And I guess they're taking the approach of, we're going to get through this eventually. We may as well be ready for everything to go to market once we actually overcome all of this.
One of the things that I've noticed by having chats from other people is that there must have been a window of time in which clients said, okay, do we put projects on hold, or what can we put in the pipeline so that, we're sure to finish at least those projects? And so there must have been a window of, say, 15 days, 20 days where clients made these decisions, because it seems like really right before the corona crisis happened that there was a spike in job offers, and then a super steep drop of people that maybe made a rush decision and then say no, we don't move forward with that, but we'll continue with. And it seems like you've been in a lucky spot, right?
Well, I guess so. I mean, I think it also depends on sort of the number of people that are affected in each country. See, Thailand doesn't have like the huge numbers like Italy or Germany or the US, right? We're still quite low in terms of the number of people. So again, I think people, they're very cautious over here about it. Everyone's, hand sanitizer, wearing masks. They've shut down all the shopping malls. The only things that are open are actually the supermarkets and the pharmacies. Hospitals are obviously open. But everything else is being basically shut down. And the government's pretty much said, stay at home, social distance from everybody. And what I was really surprised about is like we've been doing that for 2-3, almost a month now, actually. Whereas I was watching, and talking to friends in Australia, and they still have shopping malls open, and people still going to the beach. Up to 2 weeks ago, people were still hanging out at pubs and restaurants in Australia, and I was just thinking, what are you guys doing? This is crazy.
I think that as of now, Italy has been almost 2 months under lockdown. we are here in Israel, basically they told us to do self-quarantine in the middle of, I think in the beginning of March, I want to say. And so what it is now?
End of March.
No. Sorry. It was in the middle of February that they told us to do that. And so I guess that we've been already 6-7 weeks inside closed. But now they're really enforcing it. Like there is police in the streets. There is drones flying, telling people to go back home.
Wow.
They have so many rules. Israel, it's a country that they won't shy away from using like their military resources to get their stuff done.
Oh, and the same, there's exactly the same in Thailand as well, right? So I mean, like the Prime Minister of Thailand, he's basically he's an ex-army general, so they're if they want to, they could turn the curfew button on tomorrow. And it would be like, and the thing is that like Thailand's not, it's not afraid of sort of to do that. It's used to it. They've been through sort of quarantines and curfews before, so they don't have any issue sort of dealing with that sort of thing. Yeah, a few of the people that I've been talking to are going a little bit stir crazy in their apartments and condos, but for the most part I think everyone's sort of just knuckling down, getting on with work. Okay, they've got to work from home, they're making the best of the situation that they can. So I mean, we've got a team of about 30 people in the office, and we sent everyone home, when was it? About 2 weeks ago. Yeah, it was about 2 weeks ago we made the decision that everyone's working from home. So we actually have all the workstations on in the studio, and everyone's sort of remotes into their actual workstations using Chrome. So just using Chrome browser, remote desktop, just log in and away they go. So, and we haven't actually noticed any sort of slowdown with that either, which is really surprising. So, but it's good. It's good.
This is really amazing that you guys managed to do that, and so the productivity stays high. Also, like online, they managed to do it. How does that work then online? Do people only have one screen? Because they cannot
No. Well, what we did is we basically, like for the staff that didn't have two screens at home, most of the staff have like computers at home as well because they practice and do stuff. So, but obviously those workstations aren't connected to the server for resources and might not be powerful enough for rendering. So for the people that didn't have the two-screen setup, we basically gave them the spare monitors that we had lying around in the studio. For myself, I'm still going into the studio occasionally, so but I mean, there's myself and the other business owner in there, and that's pretty much it. The rest of the team is remote. So yeah, we had to make the hard decision. We were like trying to figure out whether it was really going to be viable, because we've got, I think, about 10-15 projects going through at the moment. So and they're animation and still projects, so there's a fair bit of work to still be done.
What is the timeline for these projects? When are you supposed to
some are almost like wrapping up, some have just started, some are halfway through. So obviously all the timelines have slowed down a little bit, but not significantly. I would say that we've managed to actually maintain our timelines, probably slowed down like 1 to 2 weeks on delivery of, and that's probably on the projects that are just starting up now. We're focusing on getting the things that are almost finished and out the door and back to the clients so they can get to market. So, and the funny thing too is that like our clients are exploring different ways of marketing themselves as well. So there's been a big uptake on Facebook ads, there's been a big uptake on Instagram ads. pushing things more through their websites. So a lot of the property developers over here have switched over to sort of online sales marketing tools as well. So I speak to a lot of like the sales and marketing people for a couple of the big developers over here to see what their strategies are on to try and keep customers coming through, because obviously they want to keep the doors open, keep rolling through. So
yeah, that's really cool. So basically, you're sort of like, you were still doing it before, but now it's more you're getting involved in the creation of like content, so to say.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome.
What we're trying to do from our side of things is we're trying to find solutions for clients to sort of deal, if this is a longer term thing, how can they, because we don't know how long this will actually affect the world. It could be a couple of months, it could be 6 months, it could be 18 months, it could be the next 5 years. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to, I guess, make a little bit of a plan, make it a bit of a strategy on sort of making sure that we've got products and services that can help bounce back. For businesses to help them, but it's going to be tough because everybody's affected. We don't know what the knock-on effect of people actually buying properties will be like in the next 6 to 18 months. It might be a huge downturn. It might be people, or who knows.
Have you heard anything related to the price of properties? Did it drop? Did it stay stable?
So in Thailand, it was dropping at the beginning of this year anyway. They were sort of reducing prices to try and be more attractive back to, because 2019 was a bit of a tough year. It was very slow in terms of the market, and the Chinese customers are probably the biggest customers for Thailand. So how that affects the buying over here is quite significant. So, I guess the property companies now are trying to attract other foreign buyers to come over here, as well as, keep the local Thai market going as well. But with the state of, like I said, most of this country, or most of Bangkok's sort of primary industry is around tourism. So you have restaurants, bars, nightclubs, hotels, everything's shut down.
Yeah.
And if it's shut down for an extended period of time, the knock-on effect for that will be massive.
That's going to have repercussions on all other industries, because obviously people won't have money to spend and to move around.
Exactly. And now, I mean, like, the government is doing things, they're giving tax breaks, they're giving social service funding out to most people. So there is a number of things that are happening from the Thai government, which is great. But again, it's the period of time which is the uncertain factor, and we don't know just sort of what will happen. But for now, like I said, our plan is to sort of just keep going. We're lucky, we're fortunate that we have projects and we have clients that are continuing on. And I guess the good thing about big developers as well is they have long-term strategy plans. They don't just have one, like 6 months to 1 year to 18 months. They've usually got like the next 5 years planned out. So when they buy property, they have from the time that they actually purchase that land, they've got like a 5-year plan of getting it to market. So if this is a 6-month blip, it's not really a big problem for them. I think most of the property developers here, especially the big ones, they've got enough financial backing behind them to just
So you're
ride this
saying
out.
all the money it has already been allocated, and so the machine keeps going. That
It'll
makes
just
sense.
keep going.
That makes sense, and it's also, I think, sort of like good news, meaning that, like, the reason why I'm saying this is because you probably noticed that there were some people that, when the crisis hit, they started to send out emails saying we're dropping our prices for our renderings.
Yeah.
Which I think it's a stupid move, and I don't want to use stupid in a, like, judgmental way, but, the money is there. The reason why things are not moving forward, it's because people are physically impaired to do their job. There is no reason for you to drop your prices thinking that this is going to solve the solution, that it's going to be a solution and solve the problem.
No, I totally agree with you. I don't think anybody should be dropping their prices at all. I saw 𝘃𝗏𝗧𝗏's article about this a couple of weeks ago, and it makes perfect sense. I mean, people like artists and businesses have to understand, like, we produce a product, and that product is valuable. If studios and artists start dropping their prices, they're basically just devaluing themselves, and then that has that knock-on effect where it'll devalue the whole industry. So, absolutely, like, agree with you 100% that it is a silly move to say, oh, there's a crisis, quick, let's drop our prices, maybe clients will come back in. No, that's not going to work. What you have to do is basically have a plan. Obviously, like, there are slowdowns where clients are pulling back, but the clients are pulling back, like you said, because they're physically hampered by not being able to go to the office and can't work the same way that they would normally do. But also, I think those clients, maybe they're smaller developers, they put their brakes on things because they might be overextended a little bit, and they're just not sure whether it's the right time to go to market. They're, the bigger developers, they've already got this planned out. They made the plans they have for launching things this year. They were already making them last year, so they were making them well before this COVID-19 kind of crisis hit. So they're the ones you need to target. They're the ones you need to go after, and there's not a lot of them, so it makes it competitive, sure. But the other thing too is, especially for small business owners, I know in Australia that there is government grants now. There's bank loans that the banks are basically offering. I think it was 250,000 Australian dollars to keep the businesses going. So you can go in, unsecured loan, basically get 250 grand to keep your small business going, which was a good move, I guess, by the Aussie government. Now, for bigger studios, maybe that's not going to be enough. But for the small guys, where it's maybe a team of 5 people, okay, that might keep you rolling for a month or two. So, I mean, it's not a lot of money, but it's at least something.
No, but it's clear what you're saying. I think that I don't know. I think that the problem here at the base is that some of us did already go through a financial crisis, but this type of crisis, nobody that I know has ever been through something similar. No. The closest comparison that I've had from somebody who came from a war zone, Syria, coming to Europe, this person said to me the feeling was the same as when our houses, we were being attacked and the government said, stay inside, you cannot do anything. And all of a sudden they lost all their money and all the value, obviously without the being attacked. But the comparison was there. And funny enough, even a friend of mine, which is a war journalist, she said the same thing. She went to a press conference when the government said that's how we're going to react. And she said it was the same feeling as being in a press conference for a war. People had no idea how to handle the situation. And so, yeah, again, this is the reason why I want to have these conversations with people, because in a way it's reassuring to know that, not everybody's not understanding what's going on. It's like, what do you call it? When a problem is shared, it feels less than a problem.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think one of the biggest things is to basically, try to, communicate with your friends and your family, and, keep, everyone's got to sort of try and remain positive through this as well. Of course. That's the other thing too. And like, if, I know, like a good friend of mine over here is a photographer, and obviously his job relies on him going out to locations and doing photo shoots. And since then, since the beginning of this, basically he's lost all of his jobs. He's had nothing. So I was on a shoot with him last week. He was doing a shoot for us, but we were in in a new sales gallery, and he was like, "Oh man, I don't know how I'm going to get through this." And I was just like, "Don't worry, just keep going, keep positive. I'll try and get you, work when I can." But I think, the main thing is to don't worry about the work. The work will eventually come back. If you see somebody who needs help, you try and do the best you can to keep at least their spirits up, keep them positive, keep them motivated, and if you can, help them out financially, or help them out with a job. But I guess the more important thing is to just keep that constant communication with your friends and your buddies, and just I know I've got a good mate back in Australia. He's doing it pretty tough over there as well. His wife lost her job. They got 2 kids. And I just, every week give him a call. "How's it going, mate? You're all right? You kicking on?" He's like, yeah, I'm good. And he's a keen outdoorsman. He loves going fishing, and he's going a little bit stir crazy being locked up, but
dude, I totally understand where you're coming from. I mean, I'm of the opinion that when you start to feel defeated inside, then a very bad sequence of events will unfold. And I don't know, it's always been like this. I try to tell people all the time, look, the reason why I force myself to look at the positive in everything, it's not because I'm an idiot or I'm naive. It's just because positivity brings joy, brings good, brings everything positive, and if you're negative, instead you bring all the negative. And I know for some people it's really hard, also because they're in situations which are much worse than ours. Sure.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I'm fortunate that I'm in a country where things aren't so expensive, so and we're still going, so it's okay for me. But I know, like Australia, for instance, it's a lot more expensive than living in Thailand, and they're doing it tough over there. And then a lot of they're coming off the back of the bushfire disaster straight into the COVID-19.
Australia, 2020 for Australia was probably the worst year in its modern history.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Let me ask you. That's one thing that I wanted to know. We already talked about this, but maybe those that haven't watched your first video, they might be curious to ask you that. Why did you move from Australia, because Australia it's like paradise, to Thailand, and what were some of the major differences that in the beginning you thought, oh my god, this is unbelievable, and that now you go used to them, and if you were to go back, you'll be like, oh, I miss that.
Well, it's funny because what was it, about 3-4 weeks ago, we actually had Chris from Binyan over here. and I was catching up with him for a couple of drinks, and he was asking me exactly the same thing about, like, what's it like, moving from Australia to Thailand, and would I ever go back, and why did I start the business here? So in the brief story is that, like, I got offered a job here as a creative director. I was in that role for 2 years. After that, I started my own company here. That was about 2 years ago as well. So I've been here almost 4 years, and it was a bit of a roller coaster ride, especially as a foreigner starting up a business. Lots of fun and games. I guess, you say Australia is a paradise. Sure, it has beautiful parts, but Thailand has equally as beautiful parts as well. So, okay, the air quality can be a little bit funny sometimes, but well, that's why we wear masks. See, we're prepared for COVID-19, because we just came out of, like, we had really bad air quality in sort of January, February, and then so everyone was wearing a mask, and then, like, COVID hit, and it was like, oh, we'll just put the mask back on. Okay.
No break for you guys.
Some of the no. They're annoying to wear as well, especially because most of the masks are actually made for Asian size, so they're a little bit too tight. And so I ended up, like, because I wear the mask in the office the whole day, as well as, actually I switch. I've got two. I've got, like, a mask that I ride, like, on the back of the motorbike. I ride to and from work, and then I have the medical mask in the office, which is a little bit looser, so it doesn't give me such a migraine. But I guess the main thing of, like, the differences of moving here and starting up a company here versus Australia. Australia, one, there was a lot more competition for me to start up the business there, so it made more sense to actually start up the studio here. The costs of running the business is significantly higher in Australia, but that comes with challenges of, like, okay, I can produce renders a little bit cheaper here, but then because I'm a foreigner, as soon as I go in to any meeting, they like the fact that I'm a foreigner, which is great, but then they want to speak to my Thai business partner straight away, and most of the meetings that I attend are in Thai, and so I sit back and just, okay, and then I might do a presentation in English, and they can all speak perfect English, it's great, but then, we'll switch it around and, like, get into the detail parts, and it's all in Thai. So that's one of the little quirks that we have.
Are you learning any of the language?
Oh yeah, I can speak, like, a little bit. I'm not fluent, but I can order coffee and get a motorbike and direct a taxi and order food, and I can say hello to people, and but that's about the extent of it. I don't have time to actually to study and practice.
That's the thing.
I need to learn more. But I guess the other thing too is Bangkok especially is still very much like a Wild West town, right? Anything pretty much goes. So if something works over here, that's a rarity. It's like, oh my gosh, that actually worked. Mm-hmm. And you kind of get into this, I guess I've got into this groove over the last 4 years of just expecting things not to work, and then when something actually does work, I'm like, holy shit, that actually worked.
I know that feeling.
That goes across everything. I mean, like, not only work stuff, personal life stuff as well. And it's just like, yeah, okay. But on a more serious note, like, things that do work well, obviously, the healthcare system over here is fantastic. And especially as a foreigner, like, I obviously have private health insurance, yes. But the hospitals and the facilities that they have over here, fantastic. I mean, honestly, like I prefer being over here with the hospitals and the healthcare system over here than back in Australia. Now, Australia's got a very good healthcare system, but their hospitals are understaffed and they're old. You come over here to a hospital and it's like being in a five-star hotel.
Really,
It's just amazing.
dude.
Yeah.
Let
So
me.
yeah.
No. That's amazing to hear. You know, like people would not expect it. But then again, I remember there was a scene from a movie. I think it was The Hangover when they were stranded in Bangkok.
Hangover 2.
Yeah,
Yeah. Hangover 2. They're
when
in Bangkok.
when
Yeah.
the guy goes to the hospital and it's like $8.
Okay, so he went to like a small little clinic, and it was like, yeah, he got like stitched up for a gunshot wound, and it was Bradley Cooper who actually gets stitched up. And yeah, the funny thing was because I know this because I only watched that movie 2 weeks ago, so
Okay.
it's fresh in my mind. But you know, there's funny things in like in that movie. Like we have a place called 𝘀𝗶𝗹𝗶𝗴, which is like one of the entertainment strips in Bangkok, and it's actually where they filmed the big riot scene
Oh yeah,
in that
all
film.
right, all right.
Yeah, yeah.
Where the guy gets
So
the tattoo and stuff.
yeah, exactly. That's 𝘀𝗶𝗹𝗶𝗴. Now it's so weird because that place, like I go to past it like to and from work every day, and it's now it's just it's a ghost town, and it's just it's got to be hurting those sort of places because they thrive on sort of the revenue from tourists coming to be entertained for that part of Thailand. It's just dead, and so yeah, I really feel sorry for the the industry, for that entertainment industry, because like all the owners of those clubs and the restaurants, they're going to be hurting massively. Like we're talking at least well, I think it's been at least 2 months already. It'll probably be another 2 months, and maybe even if things get better within the next 2 months, it'll probably be another 2 months before people start coming back to those. So that's half a year for those complexes to be like just basically shut down. It's massive amounts of money, and it's not only like obviously there's girls that work in those entertainment places, but it's also like the places, the small businesses that operate around those bigger venues. They're also, so we've got a lot of street vendors. The street food vendors rely very much on the tourists coming past their street food shop and just grabbing something to eat while you're out drinking and partying. They don't have any customers. And then the other thing too is like the restaurants. Now most of the restaurants are actually, what they've done is they switched to food delivery services. So you can still order food. We've got all the different applications for the food delivery services. So that's one good thing about the restaurant industry is being saved by that. But yeah, the other places unfortunately don't have that sort of opportunity to do that.
Yeah, the small ones especially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're the ones that if they disappear, they're the ones that are going to be missed the most, because Bangkok is very much about like street food, and people come here for that experience of because anybody can go to anywhere in the world and pretty much eat in a restaurant. Coming to Bangkok and getting a bit of culture of the street food vendor on the side, where you think, is that really pork? It's half of the experience and half of the joy of like living and visiting this country. So
yes, it's true. You're right. I mean, when you experience a country like Thailand, one of the best things to do. It's to go down the street and just see how people live their lives in there, because it's totally different from what we have in the West. It's extremely different.
Like I said, it's like living in a Wild West town. It's when things work, you're surprised. The rest of the time, we have a saying over here, 𝘀𝗶𝗹𝗶𝗶. It's like, it's okay, relax. You can say susu naka, which is like just relax, or 𝘀𝗶𝗹𝗶𝗶 is just like chill.
Okay. And tell me, have you learned to drive in Bangkok?
Oh, it's the same as driving in Australia. So
no, I
it's
mean
the
like
same sort of
for the chaos.
Well, okay. I've driven in Thailand before. Yeah. I don't have a car now, but in the past, I've driven friends' cars around Bangkok and like driven out of Bangkok. Driven a motorbike around here a couple of times, and down on Phuket as well. So it's okay. I wouldn't probably do it now because the roads are so empty.
Oh, really?
Right. Normally, like in the past when I've driven, I'm cruising along at like 5, maybe 10 kilometers an hour because can't move anywhere. It's like the world's largest car park. But now, even just going to and from the office, jump on the back of a motorbike, and most of the bike guys are pretty good. You get the odd occasional motorbike taxi guy who's like, let's just see how fast we can go. And it's like, no. And the quality of the roads over here is, it's not.
But have you seen like an improvement, at least in the sky being clearer and the air being fresher now that the streets are a little bit more empty?
A little bit. I mean, obviously the pollution thing is a big problem in Bangkok, especially around the January, February time of the year, because they do a lot of burning for the sugarcane and we get smoke. But actually, like, it's quite funny. Like, we're still getting a lot of haze in the air. We had our drone pilot actually going up tonight, shooting some dusk shots for a new project that we're doing. And I kept saying to him, I don't think it's going to be clear enough. He's like, oh, no, I looked at the sun, it's okay. And then sure enough, he got up there and it was just like, red sun coming through haze, and I was like, no, don't show this, because we have some amazing like sunrises and sunsets in Bangkok. Yeah, absolutely. We have beautiful. I guess in the last couple of weeks I've noticed more that I can actually see the stars a little bit clearer. Yes. The PM 2.5 level. Yep, that's dropped down to sort of moderate levels, which is, but there's not a huge reduction on pollution yet. Give it a couple of more weeks and I think it'll start to clear up. Bangkok's kind of funny because it's like, everything sort of just hangs around. We don't get the breeze from the ocean to sort of blow it away like, the coastal cities like Brisbane, Sydney and Melbourne. In Australia, you get these beautiful coastal breezes that just come in and just, whatever. Like I remember being in Sydney and seeing like really bad pollution, and then like within an hour the wind is just come in and blowing it away, and I was like, okay, whatever.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think that any of the stuff that you're now doing in terms of like production, because you guys, you don't only do images, you also do a lot of VR and interactive stuff.
Yep.
Do you think this has given you sort of like an edge, during these times, but also in business in general?
Yeah. Okay, I'll touch on the VR thing. We looked at doing like a lot of investment in research and development into VR starting in 2017 is when I really started doing it. But I pushed heavy on VR last year, and I think VR is one of those things where it's going to remain a little bit gimmicky for our industry. It's a cool thing, and the Unreal Engine's great, but I don't think, for the feedback that I've got from clients here and a couple of clients overseas as well, is that it's just a little bit too gimmicky, and people aren't comfortable putting the headset on. And there was a backlash by one of our clients actually who was looking at VR, and then COVID-19 hit, and they said, nope, no VR because we don't want people putting things on their face.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. And it was like, okay,
It
makes
sense.
kind of sense. Yeah. So I wonder, and I'm going to wait and see what's going to happen with VR as an industry after COVID-19, because especially for, like, if you own your own headset, it's fine, but if you're walking into a sales gallery and somebody else has put that on, you don't know how well, like, the staff have actually cleaned that headset. And
unbelievable how this thing is impacting us from a cultural point of view, from a technological point of view. Dude, like, seriously, even if you look at the way certain companies, they're redesigning themselves, I mean, they're not really redesigning themselves, but they've shown to be flexible enough to jump from the production of a pair of shoes to masks, Nike or... Have you seen Ramazzotti, the one that makes the drink? They're now making hand sanitizers.
Oh, okay.
And they're making them in the same bottle as the Ramazzotti drink, which is, like a liter. Right. And they're putting the spray thing on top so that you can hand sanitize your hands. But, like, now you're totally right. I never really thought about this before this conversation. But how are people going to react now to, wear the goggles? No. Fuck off.
Exactly. So we kind of see one of two things happening with VR. We kind of see it pretty much just like staying as it is and just being a bit of a gimmick on the side, or there'll be the advent of people rushing out and actually buying their own headsets in the future, if this continues to be an isolation thing where people are looking, the virtual reality industry could very well take off from having isolation.
Yeah.
But
which is the
I'm
other
a little bit
side
cautious
of the
on
coin.
Yeah, exactly. But what we've done is, like, we were always developing at the same time an online platform sales tool as well. So we've got we're actually in the process of doing it for a couple of clients now. We have iPad and touchscreen applications. So and actually, because we're developing our platform in Unity, we can go to anything. So we're basically looking at taking the sales kit that we normally do as a marketing kit. It houses like the images, the animation, the floor plans, interactive tours, all of these things. We're pushing to put those like on the Apple Store, on the Android Store, so that end customers can actually download the application themselves. And then what we're doing is we're packaging up all of the projects that a developer does rather than just a single project. So for like one of the biggest clients that we have right now, we've basically turned around and said to them, okay, well, we're going to work with you guys over the next couple of months, taking all your pre-existing projects and putting them into this application, making it a full sales kit with CRM connectivity. So it can basically, take a person all the way through to the contract stage, and they can purchase straight off the iPad. They don't need to visit a sales gallery. So that's one of the things we're sort of prepared to take on, is like we have this platform so that we can basically help our customers keep their customers happy and going, and listen to really the needs of the developers, and saying, okay, I mean, there's a flip side to that as well, and it's, buying a house, buying a condo, it's a huge investment. It's a huge purchase. It's not like buying a pair of shoes online, So I think there'll be a little bit of resistance there of people wanting to sign contracts and buy houses, but the way that, especially like in Thailand, for instance, when you purchase something over here, you've got a deposit that you have to pay down, and you can basically, it's a small enough fee that you can purchase it on a credit card. So we're talking $5,000-$6,000 American for a deposit. So it's not big money to actually put down to purchase a house. And then you've got 30 days to then do and then they have payment plans as well. So there are a lot of steps and processes that developers are doing to help their customers actually, get interested in buying things. What we're trying to do is offer, because the only way that they have the solution right now is on the web. And web is good, but it's limited in what it can do. Especially like things like virtual reality. We've got something new that's coming out in a couple of weeks. We're just in the middle of developing it. We call it 360 Discovery, but I won't give you too much more about that. I'll let you wait and see what it is.
When you share it, tag me so that
Yeah. I will. But it's just another tool that we're offering, our clients to offer their end customers to get them a better experience, so that they don't have to really go anywhere, especially in times like this. But again, preparing for the future of maybe people don't want to go to sales galleries in the future. It might be more comfortable just to sit at home and use an iPad and or look at it from the internet. So we're looking at all those sort of avenues as well to make sure that we've got all the bases covered. So we've got the solution for in the sales gallery, we've got the solution for people to download, and then making sure that we've also got the right content. And that's one of the other things too, is because we've been very sort of receptive to our clients and making sure that we're listening to what they actually want and not going down too many gimmicky paths as well. And I think that's a key thing to keep going in business as well, is to really evaluate sort of, whilst something like VR, we thought VR was really cool a couple of years ago, and I crunched the numbers on it, and I was just like, what, this is not, even if I did 10 VR jobs a year, it's just not enough in it. There's not enough uptake. It would be a different story if I was doing 100 VR projects a year. Then I can see the demand for it. But I don't see how, because it's such a small percentage. I remember there was a statistic floating around last year, the year before, about in our industry, what has the most sort of uptake, and still imagery is still 95% of what customers want. And then there's animation, animation films after that, and then everything sort of follows down the percentages. And VR was 1 or 0.5%. And I haven't seen anything to get people excited about VR again. Augmented reality, I think, has actually taken over the excitement value on that side of things. So if I was to look at something new, it would be integration of augmented reality into some sort of application platform. There's a really cool there's a phone store over here called 𝘀𝗶𝗹𝗹. I think it's a Chinese
I know the brand, yeah.
Yeah, so they've got this like physical model of this futuristic city set up in their store, and you can pick up a phone and actually walk along this futuristic city, and it has all these different augmented reality functions that happen along different points. So, and you don't have to go too far. Like you can walk along sort of like a meter, and then like there's another phone further down that you can, so there's like 30 or 40 phones around the outside of this. It's a fairly big model. I think it's about 20 meters in length.
Oh wow!
So yeah, it's pretty impressive actually. So things like that, where if there's a need for a sales gallery for a development, something like that, having a physical model and then having an augmented reality application interact with that physical model, that I think is more of a wow than come into the sales gallery and put a VR headset on.
Yeah, I see. Zac,
so yeah,
believe it or not,
yeah.
We've been talking for 51 minutes already, man.
All right.
Time flies. Let me ask you.
It does.
I wanna kind of wrap this interview up, or this chat. It's not an interview. It's more like a chat between two friends who have actually never met, but we became friends.
No. Well, I was planning on coming up there this year to have a beer with you, but let's see. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
God knows. But anyway, dude. Last few thoughts about this Corona situation. How do you see it from a place that has been very close to this whole pandemic and everything? Do you remain positive? Do you remain skeptic?
No, I have to remain positive, and I think the only thing to do is to remain positive, that we will eventually get over this. It will pass. There's no point in worrying about like the things that you can't control. Okay, only worry about the things that you can control. So looking after yourself, wearing a mask, staying safe, social distancing, staying at home. These are things that we can control ourselves. Let the professionals handle like looking after the situation, and hopefully by the social distancing and people sort of doing the right thing, it will eventually dissipate. I don't think it will. I mean, let's see. Hopefully they get some sort of vaccine for this developed in the next 1 year, 18 months. But I think hopefully in the next couple of months, the only thing we can really do is, do the best that we can, stay positive, and just continue on our lives like in the best way that we can. There's not much point in sort of just saying, oh well, the whole world's fucked. That's it. Just give up. The only thing that I'm disappointed is it's so difficult now to try and find beer, right? Because
actually, that's a problem for me.
I haven't had a drink in like three weeks, and I'm like, come on. Normally my Friday night routine is like go down to the pub and have a few beers with the guys and relax for the weekend. It's been 3 weeks now. It's like, now they do sell beer at 7-Eleven, so I can actually pop down there. But there's kind of a thing about like just sitting at home drinking alone. I'm like, nah.
Yeah, it's weird.
That's my only takeaway is like, damn it, come on, hurry up and get this solved so I can go back to drinking some beer.
Zac, listen, I want to thank you for taking the time to talk to me. I'm going to stop the recording. Don't go anywhere so that I can say thank you one more time. But thanks for sharing your story, dude.
Okay, man. Thanks very much, everyone.